What if sin isn't simply breaking rules? What if it's about breaking relationship? What if it's not as simple as it's been made out to be? Law versus grace. Accountability, responsibility versus grace. What if sin isn't about that? What if it's about breaking relationship? What if the story of Eden isn't about a piece of fruit? Whatever fruit it was. What if it wasn't about fruit, but a fracture in covenant loyalty? Genesis 3 is not a children's tale. We've said it. Each of the 3 episodes now. It's not a children's tale. It is the story of humanity's rebellion. Your rebellion, my rebellion. It's the reason that Messiah had to come. Today, we enter the fall to see what sin really is. This is True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn, follower of the way, theologian and author. And so let's open up the scriptures together. Before we do, remember, this episode is brought to you by True Word Faith for Life, a journey into living scripture with power and covenant faithfulness. Visit truewordfaithforlife.com for this resource under the store and for many more resources there. It's all free. Well, the book's not free. All of this will help to strengthen your walk as a follower of the way. Good evening, Robbie, and to everyone listening, however you're listening, in whatever way, in any of the many places that we're streaming. I sure appreciate it, I can tell you that. This is quite a series. Do
you want me to
worked my guts out. Look.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Siri. I said series. How about that? She's listening. If you've ever thought that she wasn't listening, she is. Trust me on that. She is. Because SERIES. Thought I said SIRI. I should enunciate. Anyway, I'm like, who come in this room? Don't nobody supposed to be in this room when I'm going? We done went live. The live light is on. He ain't right. He ain't got much sleep. Podcast puppy is under the weather. He's got an injury and we had to run him to the emergency vet today. But we got him, giving him medicine and got him going on the mend, and we're doing all we can. So I appreciate all of you joining up. Please click on follow if you're on Rumble. Subscribe. Click on the bell on either case. I would love it if you do that. We are definitely getting throttled on YouTube. What that means is they're putting the brakes on. They don't show these episodes. And they don't tell you they're doing it. They just do it. That's why I say you got to go over to Rumble. I want you to join up under, and they're both free. Join up under YouTube, True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn. Join up under that. Click on subscribe and click on the little bell. But also go to Rumble, rumble.com. Look for True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn. And that's very important because if they deplatform me, I'll have nowhere to go. You'll be like, you won't know what happened. Like, Dr. Shawn, did he die or did he quit doing this? So if you'll already be a member on Rumble, boom, you got it. To all of our podcast listeners listening on the playback, afterward, audio only, face for radio, I appreciate you listening. Please click on thumbs up or subscribe or follow and give us a review. I really would appreciate that. We're on Spotify, we're on iHeartRadio, iTunes, all of those. We're on all of those. And 34 locations we stream to, or we push this episode out to. So I would love it if you do that, and would mean the world to me. So I also am curious about the Thursdays. Is this a benefit to the overall large community? Thursday at 7. Would it be better if I did Sundays and Wednesdays? I don't know. I don't know which, but we don't get a lot of traction on Thursdays. So that's why I'm asking. I'm really curious. On truewordfaithforlife.com, you can leave me a note to that regard. Put it in comments here, whatever you'd like to do. Let's get started. I'll appreciate it. So I'll be reading from the Complete Jewish Bible, Genesis chapter 3, verses 1 through 24. Now I'm going to read it all the way through. You might say, well, that's the death of a podcast, reading all the way through. No, you got to hear it all the way through first, and then we'll break it down. Hang with me. We're going to read the word of the Lord. Genesis 3, 1 through 24. Are you ready? Now the serpent was more crafty than any wild animal which Adonai God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say you are not to eat from any tree in the garden?" The woman answered the serpent, "We may eat from the fruit of the trees of the garden. But about the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden, God said, 'You are neither to eat from it nor touch it, or you will die.' The serpent said to the woman, 'It is not true that you will surely die, because God knows that on the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil.' When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it had a pleasing appearance, and that the tree was desirable for making one wise, she took some of its fruit and ate. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized they were naked. They sewed fig leaves together to make themselves loincloths. They heard the voice of Adonai God walking in the garden at the time of the evening breeze. So the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Adonai God among the trees in the garden. Adonai God called to the man, "Where are you?" He answered, "I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself." He said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree from which I ordered you not to eat?" The man replied, "The woman you gave to be with me, she gave me fruit from the tree, and I ate." Adonai God said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" The woman answered, "The serpent tricked me, so I ate." Adonai God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, you are cursed more than all livestock and wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and eat dust as long as you live. I will put animosity between you and the woman, and between your descendant and her descendant, and he will bruise your head, and you will bruise his heel." To the woman, he said, "I will greatly increase your pain in childbirth. You will bring forth children in pain. Your desire will be toward your husband, but he will rule over you." To Adam he said, "Because you listened to your wife's voice and ate from the tree about which I gave you the order you're not to eat from it, the ground is cursed on your account. You will work hard to eat from it as long as you live. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat field plants. You will eat bread by the sweat of your forehead till you return to the ground. For you were taken out of it. You are dust, and you will return to dust. The man called his wife Hava, Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Adonai God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed them. I want you to think on that one a second. Just think on that one. I'm not finished. There are many people that skip over that. Adonai God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed them. Adonai God said, "See, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. Now to prevent his putting out his hand and also taking from the tree of life, eating and living forever. Therefore Adonai God sent him out of the Garden of Eden to cultivate the ground from which he was taken. So he drove the man out, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden the cherubim and a flaming sword which turned in every direction to guard the way to the tree of life. This is the word of the Lord." Now I know you might be wondering something that I get asked this. Whenever I teach on this, I get asked this nearly every time. How long was it before Adam and Eve sinned? Like from when they were created. How long between when they sinned and when they were created by God? I don't know. Maybe you can put in comments if you're listening. Maybe put in comments. Is that something you ever thought about? Did you ever wonder about that? Did that ever run across your mind? So let's tackle it first. Why not? The Targums on Genesis 3, the Targums often expand the Hebrew text with interpretive commentary. Targum Pseudo-Jonathan, Genesis 3:6, adds details suggesting that the serpent was motivated by jealousy, seeing Adam and Eve in the garden. The narrative hints at immediacy. There's no suggestion of long, idyllic time passing before the fall, passing before the sin. Now, Targum Neofiti likewise frames the temptation as occurring almost immediately after their placement in Eden, highlighting the human frailty and the serpent's cunning. Now, in both cases, the Targums preserve the impression that the fall was not far removed in the time from creation. Now, there's the Midrash, and the Midrashic tradition, the Midrashim, often go further, filling gaps with imaginative detail. Now, that's what they do. Genesis Rabbah 18:6 suggests Adam and Eve sinned on the very day of their creation. Adam was created, placed in the garden, given the commandment, tempted, sinned, judged, and expelled, all within one day. All within a single day. Now, this interpretation, I get it. We're just weighing these out. We're not saying these are scripture. This interpretation emphasizes the rapid failure of humanity when separated from God's direct guidance. Now, Perkei de Rabbi Eliezer, chapter 13, these are Midrashim, also supports the view that the fall happened almost immediately. Now, we have to guess. We all have to guess on this. We all have to, hey, K1100 pilot, how you doing? I'm K1200 pilot. How about you? Oof, we have much to say. A fellow BMWer. I rode motorcycles for 22 years, and most of them were BMWs. BMW K1200S was my last bike. How about that? Thank you for listening. I'm honored that you listen. I'm not sure who you are, but I'm loving that you're listening. And Miss Colleen, I didn't ever know there was K1100 pilot, K1200 pilot. I was K1200 pilot at whatever. What did they do? Yahoo and all that stuff? I think K1200 pilot at yahoo.com. I don't still have that, I don't think. But that's what I was known as, K1200 pilot. I'm not saying I exceeded the posted speed limit. I'm just saying the bike was fast. That's all. Anyway, good to have you. Good to have everybody listening. It's an honor. And those of you who are a little more timid, you say, "Hey, I don't want to click in on the live chat on either the Rumble or the YouTube or even Facebook." Please feel free. Send me a note, smgreener@gmail.com, smgreener@gmail.com, or go through the contact me on truewordfaithforlife.com. I would love to hear from you. Love to hear from you. So, This Perché di Rabbi Eliezer, chapter 13, because the thought there is they also support the idea that the fall, the sin, happened almost immediately. It even suggests that Adam and Eve were in a state of infant innocence when tempted, and I think that underscores their vulnerability. Now, in rabbinic thought, understand that rabbinic thought is very, very different. We think differently than rabbinic thought. Remember, the rabbis, this is all they do. They think about Scripture. They think about the documents. They think about the feast. They think about all of that. They think about it all the time. It's what they do. And they've preserved the documents for thousands of years, and we must say thank you to them. We owe to them the roots of our faith. So there's a theological motive in rabbinic thought, as there would be. Why did rabbis emphasize immediacy? Well, to highlight human dependence on God. Makes sense. Without His presence and His Spirit, mankind quickly falls. I know I do. And to contrast man's weakness with God's holiness, to explain why death and suffering entered the world so suddenly after the glory of creation. I mean, it was like apples and aardvarks, man. It was incredible. You'll see I create all my own thumbnails. I'm learning, I'm a work in progress. I'm not great at it yet. I'm working on it. And but you'll see by that, if you're watching on either YouTube or Rumble, you can actually physically see. And I think you're seeing the lower left or lower right. I can't remember. It's opposite of me in the lower side. The garden and the image bearers. And that was kind of like my idea of what maybe it was like. I don't know. I'm just, trying to create something there. And I'm not saying it was like that. So don't throw rocks at me. I'm just guessing. So, but I want you to think about it from the idyllic beginning, the perfection, to death and suffering suddenly enters the world. Right after the glory of creation. It's mind-boggling. And then there are early Christian parallels. Irenaeus, against heresies 4.40, suggested Adam and Eve were like children. They were quickly deceived. They were the infancy idea carried over from rabbinic thought to also to Irenaeus. And none of these people, by the way, were there. I wasn't there. You weren't there. None of us were there. But it's important for us to think on these things. Sometimes we have to go a little deeper sometimes than the surface. And if you're going to be a theologian, which, I don't know that was my goal to be a theologian. I love speaking and teaching and preaching and all of those things and helping people, just helping one-on-one people come to faith and understand the faith they have. You don't have to become a theologian. But in my case, I had to go really, really deep. And some of it was daunting. And some of it was utterly incredible. Just mind-boggling. You think, man, oh man, this is a long time ago. And these people are, they themselves, much closer to the original event, they themselves were digging deep. You have to admire that. So Augustine, we often hear about what Augustine thinks. Augustine saw the timing as less important than the fact of the fall, though he agreed it was early, since no children were born in innocence. I'm talking more about that in a second. By the way, I want to say thank you to the VA, who takes great care of me, my care team, number 75, also to my Novant team that they care so much for me. My last infusion, Nurse Marjorie, amazing, just amazing, and the nurse before that, amazing. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate these wonderful people. You hear a lot of stuff about the health industry nowadays, and some of it is true. We have a long way to go. But I will tell you what, these people treat me incredibly. And I'm so honored. I so appreciate it. I just can't thank them enough. And I have these new things called walkathons that my new friend Brad and my new friend Kat have helped me in. And I'm telling you, I'm learning them. It's a little bit. But I'm going to get my Travolta trot on. As I have to teach my brain. It's a prosthesis. It has to teach my brain to take feedback from my shin or ankle, which would normally be taken by my feet, which are essentially dead. So that's where you get some of your balance from, your feedback. Your brain's constantly talking to your feet. Who knew? That's, I guess, why we should wash them more often. You don't want your brain going, hey, your feet stink. You know what I mean? I'm just putting that out there. I'm not in charge of that, but I'm just saying that's what I would say. So Augustine saw the timing as less important than the fact of the fall. But he does agree that it was early since no children were born then. And I am going to talk about this because it always has struck me, even as a little kid. I was a weird little kid. I had a weird brain. And so I always thought of it, and I thought, wait a second. That verse that talks about God saying, in childbirth, you're going to be there. I wonder if they were like, childbirth? What's childbirth? And you're going to create animosity? What? What's childbirth? That's never happened. What's that he's talking about? What's this childbirth you keep saying? So the Targums and the Midrashim consistently portray the fall as happening very soon after creation. By the way, you can tell me in comments, wherever you're listening, if you think this is just an utter waste of time for me to teach you these types of things, and you want to say, hey, Dr. Shawn, just stick to the Bible, will you? Because, this is, if you don't like it, let me know. And if you do like it, let me know. It's important for me to know these things. But I like for you to know these things. Anyway, the Targums and the Midrashim, they consistently portray the fall as happening at least very soon after creation, even on the same day. And while the biblical text doesn't say so explicitly, the Hebrew literary flow, aromim to arum, and the silence about any pre-fall children point in the same direction. So that's what I'm saying. Think about that. There were no children mentioned pre-fall. Pre-fall. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for listening. Reach out to me. There's a couple things I'd like to ask you, by the way. Thank you very much. You are a blessing to me. What a lovely, lovely human being. I am so lucky to have such amazing people. By the way, I'm looking out. I can't see it because there's some stuff in the way, but I'm looking out at the moon up, it's pretty low in the sky. And then this lavender kind of purpley. I normally don't have the curtains open because we like to have that sound deadening. We want to have some dead sound. We don't want not dead air, but dead sound. But we're going to lose about an hour, I'm told, from September 1 to the end of September. We'll lose an hour of light. And so I thought, while I got that going and I'm looking at the little birds and all this out here, and the deer kind of whooped me on my seed. So all of my feeders, they have mama deer, and I don't get mad at them. I don't. We push them out of their territory and their habitat. It's the least I can do to put food out. But I'll keep filling it. But she was out there. I saw her on the security system in the middle of the night. I was up in the middle of the night, couldn't go back to sleep. And there she was. She was just as beautiful as she could be. And every couple of seconds, she'd look up, look right at the camera and say, "Are you looking? I'm eating the seed you put out here for me. Thank you. I like this kind. And but anyway, so I'm seeing this beautiful, beautiful scene, and I have to say, I think about it. I think about it a lot. I think about, well, goodness, I think about, I see this, right? And I think, just on the other side there, not far, not even 500 yards, is the ICW, the Atlantic Intracoastal Waterway. And then maybe another 500, Miss Colleen probably tell me better, maybe another 500 yards, maybe 500. There's the dunes and the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, it's so cool. And I fly quadcopters and drones, and I used to do photography and videography and stuff like that. Anyway, and I take off from here, and I go 10 feet off the ground. I see the ocean, so that's pretty cool. But it's a beautiful blessing. There's trees and there's grass, mostly sand and weeds, and there's these beautiful live oak trees and these birds and that beautiful moon. Remember I taught about that, one shows light. He created two sources of light, one that shows light in the evening and one that shows light in the day, one that lights the night and one that lights the day. So I look at that and I think, wow, it's beautiful. Just so beautiful. I can't imagine how this place was. I just can't imagine. By the way, how's the sound? I didn't even think to ask everybody. Sorry about that. I done forgot. By the way, K1200 Pilot, please reach out to me. Let me know who you are. smgreener@gmail, or text me if you have my number. I would love to know. Isn't that funny? Because, the BMW crowd, the motorcycle BMW crowd is, it's not a huge crowd. So anyway, I thought that'd be interesting. And same with you, Miss Marjorie. There's a couple questions I want to ask you. So here's the thing. We didn't hear about any pre-fall children. We didn't hear about any pre-sin, pre-fruit children. And by the way, I don't care if it was an apple. I don't care if it was a pomegranate. I happen to think it was a pomegranate, by the way. I do believe it was a pomegranate. I don't think it was an apple. Apple doesn't fit in with the ancient Near Eastern. This area doesn't have apples now. You might make the argument of, because of the sin. But I don't know. I don't give that a ton of weight. I really think because of how prolific. I don't know. I think it's pomegranate. So that's why I made, if you look at the thumbnail in the upper left or upper right, whichever, that what he's holding up is the pomegranate. Anyway, again, how do I know? So according to the rabbinic midrash and the targums, Adam and Eve's sin occurred almost immediately after creation. Possibly, really, honestly, within hours of being placed in there. And this tradition emphasizes it's not so much about chronology, the order of time, but theology. Humanity, apart from God's covenantal presence, falls swiftly. I know I do. I am a person with many hurts, habits, and hang-ups. There's plenty of weaknesses. There's plenty of proclivities, whatever you want to say. And so I'm not a perfect man, not anywhere near it. Anybody that knows me knows that to be the case. And many of them firsthand. So I'm not saying I'm perfect here. I'm not saying I know for sure, but I fall on the side of it was pretty immediate, pretty quickly, because there wasn't a lot of discussion, just very briefly. So here we go. The serpent, he was crafty. And, if these are things that you've never thought of, like you hear this and you go, I never thought of that. Reach out to me. Let me know, or put it in comments wherever you are. Let me know that, because that way I know I'm over the target. So the serpent he was crafty, but remember, he was created. He was part of creation. The text begins, now the serpent was more crafty than any wild animal which Adonai God had made. All right. You look, if you're not driving a car, if you're driving a car, or forbid you're flying an aircraft or a motorcycle, by the way, don't even do it on that. But if you're listening on any of those ways, please don't freak out. But if you can freak out if you want, but if you have an earbud in your ear and you're listening to some other presentation, don't let on. Don't let on. Just smile. Bob your head. But I'm telling you, we can do it on the inside. Now the serpent was more crafty than any wild animal which Adonai, God, say it with me, had made. Did you ever think about God created the serpent? The Hebrew word here that they use here is arum, meaning crafty, cunning, shrewd. And interestingly, this is linked to the word arumim. In Genesis 2:25, which described the man and the woman as naked, without shame, transparent before one another and before God. In one verse, arumim, which remember on Sunday at 3, what day is today? Today is Thursday. Monday at 7, the last episode we did in this, episode 2, I talked about that. Remember, I broke that down. So we won't go into great detail here because it's there and it's free to listen to anytime. So, but in one verse, arumim is vulnerability and innocence. In the next, arum is manipulation and deception. The writer of Genesis uses a word play to signal the shift from innocence to cunning deceit. Now, I say this a lot. Little things don't mean a lot. They mean everything. The language, the culture, and the context. The ancient Near Eastern language, culture, and context, so important. We can just read the Bible. By the way, one of my new friends listening is doing the chronological Bible. It's fascinating. I talked a little bit about this in the last message. When you read it chronologically, now I have several editions of the chronological Bible. I have a lot of Bibles. I'm a Bible geek. I have a bunch of them. I collect them. Then I got to stop because I may have a problem. And it's the first step. First step is to admit. Anyways, and it is interesting to read through them. And I talk about this in my book, True Word Faith for Life, available at truewordfaithforlife.com under the store. But in True Word Faith for Life, the book, the most recent one, I talk about this. I talk about the chronology of things. And then in the back, I'm wondering if I left that in there. I can't remember if I left it in there or not. I'm not going to look right now because then I'll be. But there it is. There's the book. Look. Textbook quality. Now, is it perfect on the inside? No, it is not. No, it is not. And, if I get picked up by another publisher, they'll hire big mahafs to come in and totally make it how it's supposed to be. Anyway, I did the best I could. So the writer of Genesis, he uses this wordplay. And we wouldn't know the wordplay unless we study the ancient Near Eastern languages, culture, and the context. We've got to know these things. If we don't know them, then we just read what someone else thought about Scripture. And we say, oh, well, this is what I'm supposed to know. And that's okay, but recognize you're missing some of the flavor, right? Missing a little bit of the flavor. So in the ancient Near Eastern world, serpents often, and I've been asked this a million times, serpents often symbolized wisdom, fertility, chaos, or divine power. Now, I get it. Right now, you're going, yeah, okay, well, the copperheads in southeastern North Carolina just hatched, and there's a bazillion of them running around, and, well, we've got the Crotalus horridus, the eastern timber rattler, and we've got the water moccasin, and we've got other venomous snakes, but we've got a lot of very positive snakes. We've got the king snake, which is an amazing snake. The funnest snake you've ever seen in your life. I know you're thinking funnest snake, 2 words I've never said. The funnest snake you've ever seen in your life is the eastern hognose. Now, is it beautiful? No, it is not. But it is the coolest snake ever. Looks very similar to a rattlesnake. Now, I'll grant you that. It even pretends it's a rattlesnake, but it also pretends it's a cobra. How it knows to pretend it's a cobra, I don't know. But if you walk up to it, right out there in that road, soon after we moved here, there were some people screaming, "That's a rattlesnake, it's a rattlesnake." And I saw a snake going across the road, and they were screaming and screaming and screaming. And I went out toward them, and I walked up to the snake, and they were freaking out. And they said, "Get away from it, mister, get away from it. It's a rattlesnake." I said, "Oh, no. I said, "That's one of the coolest snakes ever. Watch this." And I started to walk towards it. And they screamed. I said, "Oh, no, don't scream, don't scream. Watch, just watch. It won't hurt you." So I reached down and I picked the snake up gently, very gently with my hand. And the biggest show you've ever seen in your life, drama noodle. And that snake flattened out. As I approached it, it flattened out like a cobra, and it swayed and it hissed and doing all this mess. And boy, and that wasn't convincing. So he thought, "Oh, I'm going to be a thank you, Flying One. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that." Flying One says, "I like hearing about this. Thank you for letting me know that. I really appreciate that." So he's shaking his tail, he or she, I don't want to judge, shaking his or her tail like this, like it's got a rattle, like a rattlesnake. Well, it's not a rattlesnake. It's an eastern hognose. Well, I picked the snake up, and all of a sudden you could see the most dramatic death any living being has ever suffered. I mean, there was tongue flapping, flopping the head back, breathing that last breath, and then the eyes rolling, and the poor dead snake. I felt so sad for it. And I said, "Watch this." And they had a little kid with them. Little kid's eyes were big as anything. And the little one was looking, watching every move I'm making. Think, "Don't put that thing down near me, mister. Mom and Dad told me to be afraid of them. That's good. Respect them." Anyway, what ends up happening is as soon as I put it down, I said, "Now just be still. Just be still." The snake very slowly, kind of slowly moves its head, and it looks back at me, kind of give me the side eye. Snakes can only give you the side eye. Gives me the side eye. Says, "Is that man still looking? Did he fall for it? Is he looking?" And then little by little, he slithers, looks back, slithers a little more, looks back, and then slithers off. So there you have it. Eastern hognose. That was free of charge, no cost or obligation to you. So snakes, saying all that, there are many snakes that are very beneficial. Non-venomous snakes, they're very beneficial. By the way, not for nothing, we have a possum that comes through here about every night in the early morning hours. Good-looking possum. Possums are scary looking, and they can try to scare you, but possums are extremely beneficial. Extremely beneficial. They're not a harm to you. And they eat ticks. They'll actually fight a snake. They'll fight venomous snakes. You name it, they'll do it. They're pretty impressive. But they're no threat to you. Just be gentle with them. Be kind. Don't trap them in a corner. Just let it do its thing. But they have a stigma because they're ugly. They look like a rat. But people say I'm ugly. And that's why they listen to the podcast on audio only. Well, pray for me. Somebody said, I said the other day, I said, my face, I was in a 92 mile per hour versus 51 head on. That's how I became disabled. Crash. And I had many head injuries before, TBIs and 13 concussions and all of this, broken noses and all that. Just lots of stuff. But in this crash, the 92 mile per hour versus 51 head on, I went from 51 miles per hour to 0 in 7 feet. I hit the steering wheel right here and bent the steering wheel like that. And then my head hit the windshield. Seatbelt stretched. The car essentially broke in half. And I left this world for a little bit. I don't know how long. And then for whatever reason, God chose, all right, we'll give you another shot, buddy. And, but I was trapped in the car. And the crazy thing about it is, I'm not really sure why I was telling this story. I have short-term memory issues, so I shouldn't have gone down this chute. And if Linda and Susan from the Kehala in Delaware are listening, I bet you're going, Yeah, stay out of those backyards. Just stay in the front yard. Stay in the front yard. Don't go through chasing squirrels and stuff in the backyard. I don't know what I was talking about. Anyway, doesn't matter. We got to get back on place. And by we, I mean me. Moses makes it clear, by the way. Now, I just, I get it if you hate snakes. I get it. My mother's big saying about snakes is the only good snake is a dead one. So she would kill every snake she saw, and I would always plead with her, Mom, don't kill them. If you want mice, kill the snakes. And sure enough, it happened. We lived in a farmhouse in the middle of a field, and we were overrun that winter, boy, because she went on a jihad. And that happened at one of the houses I lived in. And sure enough, we paid for it. So we have to learn to live with them because they help us out. Anyway, Moses makes it clear this serpent isn't divine. This serpent is not divine. Remember what I just said about 3 times. Ancient Near Eastern world thought serpents symbolized wisdom, fertility, chaos, or divine power. Not in this case. This serpent isn't divine, it's created. And this serpent is under God's authority. Evil here is not a rival God, but a twisting of what God has made. Now, Dr. Michael Heiser, God bless him, amazing resource. He reminds us that in biblical worldview, evil is not equal to God. It is parasitic. It can't create anything. Evil can't create anything. It cannot possess those who the Holy Spirit is in them, the Ruach HaKodesh. Can't possess you. It can trouble you. It can try to tempt you. It can do a bazillion things, but it can't do you in. Evil is not equal to God. It is a parasite. Evil destroys. It does not create. Evil lies. Evil doesn't heal. It corrupts. The serpent isn't co-eternal with God. He is a creature. Clever. We can't take that from him. He was Sneaky Pete. I mean, who would have thought of talking? If I'm in the garden, which, I would have sinned too, I'm sure. I can't be hard on Adam. I'm certainly not hard on Eve. She was dependent on Adam to lead her properly and to represent. Well, unfortunately, he didn't. And here we are. But I'm going to tell you, if I was there and the serpent started talking, there's my buddy Steve's wife, Stacy, walking and talking, ministering to people. He's our pastor of our church. And he also happens to be our neighbor, not next door, but right down the street. Anyway, I've lowered their property value living here. I'm sure of it. So I want you to understand that the enemy thrives by twisting the truth, capital T. And evil thrives by leveraging what already exists. Doesn't create a thing. Tima, how are you, sir? Hey, I appreciate that. That is lovely for you to say. Tima says, one of my good friends says, my favorite teacher. Thank you, Dr. Shawn. Blessings to you. Well, I'm the lucky one. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you listening, taking the time. Good lands. It's amazing. So the strategy of deception, Genesis 3, 1 through 5, the serpent opens with a question. Did God really say? Did God really say? I don't think he said it with that Brooklyn Jew accent. I don't think. I wasn't there. But did God really say? Did he really? The first weapon is doubt. He twists the boundaries. God set the boundaries and the enemy twisted them. God gave freedom to eat of every tree except one. But the serpent frames it as a restriction. Did God really say you cannot eat from any tree? He reframes protection as oppression. Isn't that something? Isn't that interesting? And yes, we have to think about it. They could eat from anything. They lacked no nutrition. They had every perfect nutrition. And yet, the serpent was able to convince them. He promises autonomy. Now, why? We'll talk about that in a second. You will not surely die. You will be like God, knowing good and evil. Now, the irony here is striking. Humanity was already created in the image of God. They already bore his likeness. Right? Remember I said in the beginning of this, I talked about that. And remember several episodes ago, not in this series, but several, free on True Word Faith for Life, the audio only, truewordfaithforlife.com. Under episodes, it's there. I talk about the voice of God, how he spoke everything into existence. You know, the power of his voice. But we know that Chava, Eve, and that wasn't her name, but Chava and Adam, they were created. The original humans were created in the image and likeness of God. The serpent tempts them with something they already had. But he redefines it as independence from God. They already had this. By the way, if you're on the East Coast and you can happen to see the moon, if you look east, out over the ocean, I'm telling you, it's not a full moon, but it's a big one. It is bright as can be. My goodness, it's gorgeous. MAGA Trump 2020, thank you so much for listening. We're so glad to have you. So glad to have you. So, here's the thing. They already had it. The serpent tempts them with something they already had. I already got that. I already got that in spades. I got all this. All the trees with fruit, all the bushes, and all the stuff I can eat, and I'm not hungry. I have everything here. I already have everything. But see, the independence from God. Look, I think my audience here is so smart. Oh, yeah. Hey, Dennis. Good to see you, brother. That's one of my dear friends. So the fall, what sin really is, right? In that image that's up on either the left of me, right, depending on how you see it. Anyway, that's what I want you to start thinking. I want you to start thinking what this sin really is, what this is really about. It's not about what we think it is. And the flannel graphs and all of that are great. They're great. They're interesting. But, it's about more than that. And it's good that we're little, we learn those lessons. It's very important. I learned them too. But it's very, very important to go deeper. And it's hard to go deeper. But I think I see the bells going off. I see them going off. I think the light bulb's going off saying, okay, I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. So the serpent tempts them with something they already had. Now it redefines that thing they already had, just redefines it as independence from God. Dr. Skip Moen, one of my beloved professors. By the way, you can about read from that moon now. It's insane. This week, I think in a few days, maybe it's a couple days, I don't remember what number day it is. What number is today? 4. I think in a few days, two or a few, there's going to be some sort of like blood moon, the moon. There's going to be an eclipse of some sort, and there's going to be all this stuff. And I don't have my camera equipment anymore, so I just like to just look at it. But yeah, so don't miss all that because that's going to be worth seeing. It's pretty cool. Anyway, I'm getting free laser surgery from how bright that moon is. So Dr. Moen writes, sin begins when we believe that God is withholding good from us. Sin begins when we believe that God is withholding good from us. The serpent's lie isn't only about fruit. It's about God's character. He lied about God's character. It wasn't about the tree. It was about God's character. He is holding something back. He doesn't want you to flourish. He cannot be trusted. And you hear this whispering in your ear when times get tough. I remember in that car. Now, obviously, those of you who know my background know, I've lived a very, let's just say, kinetic life. I've survived many, many crazy, crazy things that movies are made of. And I'm thankful. It's not, yes, I paid attention to training and I worked hard at being good at what I did. And I'm thankful to have used those tools to survive. But listen, God decides. God has the button. I don't have the button. And for whatever reason, in that crash, that 92 mile per hour versus 51 mile per hour crash, He chose to reanimate me. I don't know why, but I'll keep at it. And I'll fall down, and I'll get up, and I'll fall down, and I'll get up until He calls me home. But here's the thing. The serpent's lie didn't have anything to do with the fruit. That was emblematic. It didn't have anything to do with the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That was emblematic. He was throwing rocks, throwing doubt at God's character. And I remember being in that car, and I remember thinking, when I didn't know I was gone, by the way. You don't know what you don't know. That really hurt us because the different doctors and the trauma team and the hospital and all that, they would ask, did you ever lose consciousness? Did you ever lose consciousness? And what did I say? I said, no, because I didn't know I was dead. We didn't know that for 2 years. I think it was 2 years. At my daughter's birthday party, the head paramedic, and he happened to be at the party. Anyway, I tell that whole big, long story. Won't tell it again here. But I remember in that car, I said, and trust me, I'm far from perfect. I'm so far from perfect. I'm from here to the moon. 1,000 million times from perfect. But I will tell you this, I had a peace. 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 I was trapped in the car. I was mangled. My face was just, ugh. You might say to yourself, well, why didn't they fix that? Joke grenade, but also not joking. That's why the people that listen to the audio only, they're like, I'm listening to the audio only for a reason. I've seen pictures of this fella. I got to eat my dinner. Got to keep it down. I just trusted God. I knew that it was bad. I knew that if I couldn't avoid it with all the training I had, I knew. I said, I think this is it. Little did I know. In those moments, I didn't feel like, because I earned it. Look, if God were to look at my life, past and present, you can't make the case for if we're going on, good, doing good versus not good, bad, evil. You're going to come down on the side of, well, he earned that crash times 100. He earned a lot worse than that. And I know that I did. I know that I did, only by the grace of God. And I don't know why, but he chose it that day and that time, and he chose me. Don't know why. Every temptation, my friends. One of the biggest temptations is, can I really trust God? We hinge everything on perfection. We measure everything on perfection. Wow, they're not perfect. We measure everything against that. But the thing that just resonates in our mind is God is holding out on you. It's the thing the enemy is telling you. God's holding out on you, man. God's holding out on you, woman. You can't trust him. You have to take control of this yourself. You have to control it. If you have to control all these things, you can't trust God. You've got to do it. Now, the act rebellion, not a snack. Not a snack. That'll make sense to you in a second. Genesis 3:6. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it had a pleasing appearance, and that the tree was desirable for making one wise, she took some of its fruit and ate. She also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate. Now, I don't know if you've ever noticed this. I want you to notice the verbs. She saw, she took, she ate, she gave. Hebrew narrative is sparse, but it's powerful. The momentum is building quickly. She saw, she took, she gave, she ate. She saw, she took, she ate, she gave. This is pretty good. Here you go. And then he ate. This is sparse. Of course it is. Doesn't have to be more than this. This is all we need. She saw, she took, she ate, she gave. The momentum. The snowball effect. This isn't about hunger. By the way, she wasn't hungry. He wasn't hungry. It isn't about hunger. It's about covenant betrayal. In Hebraic worldview, sin is not primarily abstract guilt. It's relational treachery. To sin is to break faith with the covenant, to declare independence from God. To sin is to break faith with the covenant, to declare independence from God. The fall, what sin really is. By eating Adam and Hava, or Eve, not her real name, Hava is her name, did not simply eat a snack. I'm a little bit hungry. The next door neighbor brought me over. They were so sweet, brought us over. This snack that they made. And it was so sweet, by the way. They were dressed as twins. Little girl just started school this year. And her mama. They were twinning out. Same shoes, same, I don't know what you call them, yoga pants, whatever, and same top. They were so adorable. My goodness. And they brought us a snack. So sweet. This wasn't a snack. Adam and Hava didn't have any. You know what? I'm a little bit hungry. I'm going to fried mushrooms. No, we don't eat them. We're not eating fried mushrooms. Okay, well, what we going to eat? How about some carrots? You want some carrots? No, I'm not in the mood for no carrots. I think I'm going to go ahead on. I'm going to get this serpent over here talking, this talking snake. Never have seen one before, by the way, but I'm going to go ahead and listen to him. This snake over here talking about this fruit on this tree, what is not supposed to be. We're not supposed to be eating of it. And here's the thing. Everything we need was on the edge of the garden and all around. And here I come. I end up in the middle of the garden. Did you ever think of that? I'm in the middle of the garden now. All of a sudden, I got this fruit in my hand. But it wasn't a snack. They weren't making a charcuterie board. They rebelled. They declared, I will decide what is good. I will be the God of my life, the fall. What sin really is. Don't we do that? We do that. I do it. Okay, I won't put it on you. I'll put it on me. I do it. I'll decide what is good. I'm going to be the God of my own life. I'm going to be in control. Every time we sin, we repeat Eden. We don't simply mess up. We rebel. We dethrone God. We say, God, I know better than you. I've been studying for years now the heroin and fentanyl epidemic. Everywhere, yes, but data specifically from the Kensington section open air drug market in Philadelphia, and I've been, I was in, military and then post-military, and then I was in law enforcement at different levels. And so I studied a lot of these things, and you try to understand why people do what they do. Drug addiction is something I have never really understood, I have to confess. I know the data and all that, but in the case of this Kensington section, there are people there who have destroyed their whole life with heroin. They were successful people. They've lost their children. They lost all their family and friends. They've stolen from. They've robbed. Some of them have robbed and murdered their family members. They've set them up to get money so they can get high again. They've lost their kids. Oh, I love my kids so much. I love my kids so much. I would do anything for my kids. How about get clean? Love them that much? Not that much. I meant to say everything but that. And I studied it and I try to figure it out. I say, what are you searching for? What are you searching for? Now, they'll always tell the story. Seriously. They'll always tell the same story. If you interview them, there's a couple people I know that interview them, and that's what they do. They have very successful YouTube and Rumble channels interviewing people in Skid Row in California and LA and other places, and also the Kensington section. They interview them. Well, how did this happen? What was your life like? Well, I had good parents, parents, intact family, blah, blah, blah. But then I got hurt and I got opiates. My doctor prescribed me opiates. God, it's that woman you gave me. The doctor prescribed opiates. Well, I didn't know. And I just took them, and then I became addicted to that. And that wasn't enough. And then I searched up for drugs, and, well, heroin was cheap, so I decided I would do that. The rest is history. I don't know a single person who doesn't know that putting a needle in was somebody that probably didn't pass 8th grade science, somebody that made this deadly chemical, probably didn't pass 8th grade science. You're going to put a needle in your arm. You're going to shove a needle between your toes or your fingers or, all kinds of other places. I don't want to go into that. Make you sick before dinner. Or maybe you're eating dinner. Every time we dethrone God, we say, God, I can't do it. Can't do it. I'm going to handle the money. You say these drug addicts, you say, listen, we got a place. We got a place for you. It's clean, safe. We'll give you some new clothes. We'll get you some medical attention. We'll get those nasty open sores taken care of. We're going to help you out. We're going to give you counseling, food. Everything is free. You'll pay for nothing. You just got to come. Are you ready? You can't do drugs. There, you can't bring any drugs in. We patch down. You can't bring any drugs in. We see to it you don't get drugs while you're there. And we help detox you. And we got doctors and nurses and all of that. Well, any medical needs you have, we'll help you. Are you ready? No, I'm not ready yet. I follow one particular young lady. Breaks my heart, actually. They showed pictures of her. She was beautiful. She's just so beautiful. Skin was perfect and gorgeous. Teeth beautiful and white. Big, beautiful teeth. And they showed the house which she grew up in. And had a family and children. 4 children. Beautiful children. Each one of them. I followed the decline. They did the time. Their chronological fall. Where it started. How her appearance started to change. They had video from different places and all of that. I watched the last interview with her. The guy said, listen, this person here with me, their name is Don. This is Michelle. Don and Michelle work at this place. And I just want you to know that we've made arrangements for you to go there. We'll carry you there now. We'll pick up your stuff and all that. We'll carry you there. It's a beautiful environment. It's pretty. There's excellent food. You won't have to scrounge for food. You won't have to turn tricks. Go on dates. Euphemism. Turning tricks. You won't have to do any of that. And you know what? Getting off of heroin and fentanyl is tough. There's no doubt about it. It's incredibly addictive, but we'll help you each step of the way. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for a certain number of days, but listen, you can do it. And we're there to help you, all free. And you can stay as long as you need. We'll get you dental care. We'll get you every bit of it, free. Won't you come? She looked right at them, looked at the camera, the guy holding the little camera, and said, no, I think I'll be ready in about 2 weeks. I'm not ready yet. They said, are you sure? Are you sure? Can't you just give it a try? No, I'm good. I'm working on it. I got to handle some stuff first out here on these streets, but when I'm ready, I'll catch up with you when I'm ready. Okay? Y'all be out of here. I've seen you out here. Okay. Sure would love it if you'd come now. We're worried about you. No, don't worry about it. I got it. I'm good. 11 days later, she was dead. 11 days. On the street, people walked by her for 3 days. Dead. The ultimate rebellion. I got this. I'm in control. God, I don't need you. We rebel and we dethrone God. Now, the immediate result she experienced, shame and hiding, right? We all do. I do. I don't know about you, but I know I do. Genesis 3, 7 and 8. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized that they were naked. They sewed fig leaves together to make themselves loincloths. They heard the voice of Adonai. By the way, how do they even know to make loincloths out of fig leaves? How do they know how to sew? Then they heard the voice of Adonai, God, walking in the garden at the time of the evening breeze. Walking in the garden. Did you ever consider that? God was walking in the garden. And for the time before that, he walked with them. Can you imagine? God walking in the garden at the time of the evening breeze. So the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Adonai God among the trees in the garden for the first time. For the first time in human history, for the first time. The very first time. That thing that gets you and gets me. That gets so many. Shame. Shame enters. The transparency of Genesis 2 is gone. It's gone. Where they once were naked and unashamed, now they are exposed and ashamed. They hide, they cower, they cover, they avoid God's presence. Sin always isolates. Hurts, habits, and hang-ups always isolate. It pushes us away from intimacy with God and with one another. It distorts our relationships. What fig leaves have I sown? What fig leaves have you sown? What are you hiding today? What am I hiding today? And there's God's confrontation. Where are you? Where are you? Genesis 3, 9 through 13, Adonai God called to the man, where are you? This isn't a question of geography. God's not lost in the garden that he created. He knew where he was, and he knew where they are. He knows exactly where they are. This is a question of relationship. The Hebrew word here is, in an ancient Near Eastern Hebrew word, is erieka. 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 Where are you? Where are you? It's an invitation to confession, and Adam responds with fear. I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. And then he blames Hava, Eve. Hava blames the serpent, and the cycle of brokenness begins. My buddy says in Rumble live chat, we have live chat in Rumble, live chat in YouTube. He had to do a business clean out of stuff because the owner was a multimillionaire and got involved in illegal drugs and ended up in jail, lost everything. Dr. Moen points out that God's questions are invitations to repentance. Hello, alarm guy. Good to see you. But Adam and Chava dodge the responsibility. Instead of confessing, they deflect. I do it too. God asks me, where are you? Will I confess? Will I confess or will I hide? When God still asks you and I, how do we answer? When God says, where are you? What will you do? What will I do? Will I confess or will I hide? Because you know what? There are consequences. The consequences are curse and hope. Genesis 3:14 through 24. The curses fall on the serpent. The consequences fall on the serpent, on the woman, on the man. Creation itself is fractured. Work becomes toil. Birth becomes pain. Dominion becomes distorted into domination. My dear friend, world famous Dr. Friedman, 7-time best-selling author, unreal guy, lives in Wilmington. An amazing guy. He's the #1 health and wellness radio show in the country. I don't know how many years going. Guy's unreal. And he's a dear friend, brother from another mother. And one time he was going through his awesome garden and he was about to pick a cucumber. And he reached down and a rattlesnake hit the cucumber right next to his hand. And almost immediately the cucumber began to rot with a horrific smell. Consequences. Listen, he would have never had to worry about that. Had the original sin and all the ensuing sins, there'd have been no such consequence. But our hurts, habits, and hang-ups bring on the consequences. My buddy didn't do anything wrong. And sometimes innocent people pay. People we love. Birth becomes pain. Dominion becomes distorted into domination. Yet in the middle of judgment comes hope. In Latin, it's the Protoevangelium. Protoevangelium. Genesis 3:15. The Protoevangelium, the first gospel. I will put animosity between you and the woman, and between your descendant and her descendant. He will bruise your head, and you will bruise his heel. This is the first whisper of Messiah. The seed of the woman will crush the serpent. Yeshua is that promised seed. Finally, Adam and Hava, Adam and Eve, they're banished from Eden. Oh, my heart breaks for them. When I teach about Judas, the betrayer, when I teach about Judas Iscariot, I don't teach as one who throws rocks at him. I say, man, that could have been me. It is me. And I teach, what if Judas had waited before he went to that potter's field? What if he'd waited like Kepha or Peter did? What if he'd have received forgiveness? Because God would have forgiven him. Yeshua would have forgiven him. But he gave up on himself. Banished. From this side of heaven, the most beautiful, most amazing place that ever existed, Eden. Yet, and I don't know if you've ever read through this passage before, I don't know if you ever picked up on it. They're banished from Eden, yet before they leave, God clothes them with garments of skin. An animal had to die. Consequences. Blood is shed in order for covering to be provided. Even in judgment, God's mercy shines through, my friends. Every consequence of sin points us to the Redeemer, capital R. Even exile carries hope. Even judgment carries mercy. I have a challenge and a choice for you today. Genesis 3 isn't just ancient history. It's my story, and it's your story. Sin is not simply breaking rules. It is rebellion. It is covenant betrayal. It is saying, I will be my own God. So I ask you, where are you hiding? What fig leaves have you sewn together? Where have you doubted God's goodness? And then the challenge for us all, not just for you. Stop hiding. Stop hiding. Like that dear lady. That dear lady. Two weeks. Less than 2 weeks. She was hiding. And hiding. And she died. She could have stepped into the light, and sometimes stepping into the light, capital L, is not the easiest thing, my friends. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's hard. I know. I don't want to go into the light just yet. It means I have to give up something. Step into the light. There's your choice. Confess. Receive the covering that only Messiah provides. And listen, if you've listened to this, and maybe you're new to this, maybe you're new, you just happened across the podcast either on YouTube or Rumble or Facebook or any of those things. Maybe you did. And maybe you are tired of hiding. Maybe you're tired of running. And if you're ready to place your faith, to place your trust in Yeshua right now, pray with me from your heart. Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. You know, in Hebrew, Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. Pray this. And it's printed on truewordfaithforlife.com. Hit one of the blog posts. It'll be there. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. I come to you with humility and faith. I admit that I've sinned and I've fallen short of your glory. Just as it is written in Romans 3:23, I turn away from my sins in teshuvah, or repentance, and I return to you. I believe that Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Messiah, is the promised one, the Son of the living God. And I believe that he died for my sins, was buried, and rose again on the third day, just as the scriptures foretold in Isaiah 53. Psalm 22 and 1 Corinthians 15, 3-4. Your word says in Joel 2:32 and Romans 10:13, everyone who calls on the name of Adonai will be saved. Today, I call on your Shem HaKodesh, your holy name. Forgive me, cleanse me, and make me new. Give me those new clothes. Give me that medical attention. Give me that healthy food, that pure hydration for my body and my spirit. Fill me with Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, and write your Torah on my heart as you promised in Jeremiah 31:33. From this day forward, I choose to follow Yeshua as my Lord, my Redeemer, and my King. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for making me part of your covenant people and giving me eternal life. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Melech HaMelechim, the King of Kings, I pray. Amen. I've got to tell you, if you just placed your faith and life into the blessed hands of the Lord, I'm beyond excited for you. I am beyond excited for you. I'm so happy for you. This is the most important thing you could ever do. I want to help you every step of the way, free of charge. Just contact me through truewordfaithforlife.com. Under the contact me, there's a little microphone in the lower right. You only get 2 minutes. It's your 2 minutes. Use them well. Give me a way to get a hold of you, or type out under the little leave me a message thing. Email me directly through smgreener@gmail.com. I promise to get back to you. As soon as I get your message, I will get back to you. Or if you have questions, you just have questions, reach out to me. Maybe they're personal things. You don't want to put them into the comments here on the channel. Reach out. I'd absolutely love to hear from you. My friends, just like on me, for you, for the world, sin is a rebellion. It's not a mistake. It's a rebellion. It fractures covenant and breeds shame. And it separates us from God. But God has not left you there. From the very beginning, He promised a Redeemer for you and for me. The fall. Yeshua is the seed who crushed the serpent. In Him, shame is removed, intimacy is restored, and covenant is renewed. Live in His light. Walk in His covenant. Never hide again. I'm so eager to see you on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Episode 4, which, as you might imagine, is very powerful. Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I can't wait to see you then. In the meantime, Shalom B'Shem Yeshua. Shalom, shalom.